Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 3 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and on this, one of our Christmas-themed episodes, if you're watching, you can clearly see, with my holiday festive co-host, Janelle Wheeler.
Hi, everybody.
And Matthew Aguilar.
What up?
And today we have a lot to talk about and a lot to get to, but one thing that didn't make into the breakdown, if you're actually like reading our little synopsis for the show, all three people who are doing that right now, is we got to talk about something because last week we laid it on the line and went to bat for a piece of content over on Netflix, Netflix's Cowboy Bebop live action adaptation. So we kind of sat here and we were the positive crew for Cowboy Bebop, and to just remind us what kind of show this is, if you missed our branding meeting a couple episodes back, you know, we are the cynical show, right? The cynical veterans. So just to remind us where we belong, as soon as we went on a hard dash for Cowboy Bebop, you know, Netflix just canceled.
This is what they do to us.
Yeah, I know. And this is how we get these origin stories. I mean, so to bring us to kind of help us through this process of grief, we brought on one of our big people from the anime branch and person who appreciates comedy and even tragic comedy in its own right. Mr. Evan Valentine is back with us.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Rest in peace, Cowboy Bebop. This is news. This is news that you might find kind of depressing, or you might be celebrating. It's I totally understand both viewpoints.
Yeah, why is Netflix like this, Evan? Like, what's going on? Like, I mean, the thing is, like, Netflix doesn't. I mean, it seems aggressive because Netflix like doesn't cancel anything, right? Like, everybody pretty much. I mean, yes. I mean, we are actually living. Our livelihoods rest on Netflix canceling and not canceling things right now. Trade secret, but yeah. They do give a lot of things at least a season 2 run to just try to create that content block. So what do you think happened? Let's break down Cowboy Bebop. What are our estimates here? What happened?
So there are a number of theories that are, this was reported last night exclusively from The Hollywood Reporter, but there are a number of theories that are kind of swirling around the internet right now as to why, like, as you said, a lot of series on Netflix automatically get renewed for a second season. I think that one of the reasons why Cowboy Bebop is an exception to the rule, and if you look at the numbers for how popular it was, it did make Netflix's top 10. It was the #1 series for a few days. Yeah. It stayed in there for about 2 weeks. The reasoning why I personally think, I think that Netflix got a little spooked by some of the reviews from maybe some of the hardcore fans of the anime series, from some critic reviews of it. But I also think that because of the reception to shows like Squid Game and Hellbound, which were created and received this huge positive reaction to them, those shows had budgets that weren't comparable to Cowboy Bebop. So I think that, me personally, I think that the executives at Netflix looked at Cowboy Bebop, saw how much money they were spending, and thought to themselves, well, we could do another season of this, or we could take this budget and create 3 or 4 new shows. And maybe one of those shows is able to hit the same level as Cowboy Bebop. It's a gamble, but again, I think that based on the mixed reviews that the series received, I think that Netflix kind of came to that decision. And I mean, I'm amazed that they came to that decision so soon after the premiere, not even a month out.
Well, like give it a chance.
I think you hit a lot of those nails on the head, especially when it comes to the money. I think in this case, it was the XY, right? You know, X was greater than Y. It was just like, we're spending this much money on this show, and it's only generating, you know, Netflix cares about like social media buzz. But there's another thing that I think we need to put in place that kind of really completes this puzzle, which is, if you watched what happened during Cowboy Bebop, it wasn't just that the live action show blew up. What it did is it also helped the anime, which Netflix is also streaming, blow up and get into those trendings and tops. So Netflix, I think, also looked at the fact that, like, yeah, we could spend this budget or maybe pay to keep like running this anime, you know, which people seem to love a lot more. And if anything, this live action thing we can just show to spark people to go to this other thing, and like we're good. We can make our bones off Cowboy Bebop a different way without having to pay.
I think
for
that's
another
ultimately what it came
thing.
down to.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
If the anime wasn't still there, like you know, I think it'd be different. If this was just like a manga live action adaptation or something, and there wasn't some other kind of thing they could literally stream and watch that make people happier, like yeah, I think we would still see a season 2. But yeah, they had the other content still right there, and you can watch the whole Cowboy Bebop in animated form, and it seems to be, like I said, making a lot of fans much happier, which was our whole argument for the show anyway. Like it's a good reason for you to kind of discover it. It's getting mainstream people, but it's sending them back into the anime. And so now maybe that'll just kind of work itself out.
Do you think that like this could ever, like, do you think they'll ever go back on this decision? Like, do you think that if enough people get upset that they could possibly decide after a little bit of time that they will bring it back?
I think, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Evan. You're an expert. Please take this.
I think that it's a possibility. I think that the chances of that happening are slim. I think one of the things that we're going to really have to keep an eye on now is that Cowboy Bebop was kind of an opening salvo for Netflix when it came to live action anime adaptations, because we have on the horizon, we have One Piece that's currently in the works. We have Yu Yu Hakusho. That's another one that they're going to try to do, as well as Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I would kind of, I mean, not to put words in their mouth, but I would be kind of nervous if I was the creative teams and the actors on that, because, you know, considering Cowboy Bebop wasn't renewed for a second season, I'd be kind of worried about, you know, the chances of their respective series at this point.
Yeah, and again, I think the X factor to this is Cowboy Bebop will always have the anime just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's really, like, you'd have to be really, I mean, I don't see how fans are ever going to zero in so specifically to the live action show to say, I need more of that. Like, unless it's like Danielle Pineda, who did a really great job. But, I can't understand, like, how they're going to do that to the point where Netflix is like, all right, let's get this money out and do this again. So, I mean, this may have just been the time we got this, and like I said, it just helps the anime live on, and maybe we'll get like an awesome remaster of the anime one day. Who knows? But all right, so that's Cowboy Bebop. I mean, it's there. They're both there on Netflix if you guys are so inclined to check it out, which data suggests you're not. But okay. Thanks. Evan Valentine dropped in and said this man is very busy, like everybody in the comic book staff. So you got a lot to do. Thank you for dropping in. Let's
Thank you guys
soon for like a full episode.
Have a great show.
Probably help keep this thing on the train, or keep this thing. Keep it on the rails. I can't even talk.
You guys are doing great. Come on.
Yeah. I just said keep it on the train when it was like the complete wrong thing.
Keep it on the train.
I feel like Jack, but that's a perfect segue to Hawkeye, because that was my little ode to Jack Duquesne and Hawkeye. You know, my little miss sayings, my daddy miss sayings over here. So let's talk Hawkeye. Hawkeye episode 4. So we had another good episode that helps establish. I mean, I've just been doing a flex lap on your left this whole time, talking about how this series is really making us care about Hawkeye, making us feel those Clint Barton feels after Matt's big tirade in episode 1 about this is a Kate Bishop show. Well, don't you care now? Don't you feel for Clint, Matt?
I do, but nothing's changed. Still a Kate Bishop show. It's still a Kate Bishop show, and it's cool. But
and at this point, Comic Book Nation listeners, you have to take what you can get. This is the holiday season spirit.
So going from this, because like what a setup, by the way, because I had all kinds of positive things to say about this show, and Kofi brings out the one, like not even negative, just like, okay, so this episode, this has become my favorite Disney Plus series.
Wow.
It's just like it's already. Wow. I still love Loki. Don't get me wrong.
Some wows in the chat.
I still love Loki. Wow. But I still love Loki. But this, it's so, man. I know part of it is what Kofi's referring to. I know part of it is the focus on family. I know part of it is the dad stuff. I know that it's hitting me in all the exact spots.
Yeah, I mean, they have manipulated our dad strings a little bit.
Yes, it's Christmas, but like So I know it's working for me on all those things, but there's just like a lot of heart here, and I laugh throughout every episode. I love the back and forth. This is ultimately still setting up a Kate Bishop series, but I love the Hawkeye stuff, the Clint stuff that is in here. So like, this show is awesome. I did not expect to love this show. I expected to like this show because of Kate Bishop. I have now loved this show for all of its characters, including Clint.
Yeah, I'm going to say this one surprised me because I think this was a disarming one, no pun intended, but going into it because I think we were all like hot on, Kingpin theories and all this stuff, and they immediately they immediately diffused the whole thing with Jack meeting Hawkeye, and that turned into like more of like a funny scene between like, who are you with my daughter, which this series handles the potential awkwardness of this old dude running around with this young girl like better than most shows I've ever seen. Yeah, because just her mom like interviewing like, okay, like I'm trying to stay cool about this, and then just like later on with them just having a party in the apartment, like, but it slowed things down and just had like them in a single small setting in an apartment and made like great TV of just Clint and Kate having their own weird impromptu holiday party with the multiple slushy drink mix things, like little sequences and all that, and
the whiteboard made me laugh.
Yeah, the whiteboard, all of that. Like,
there's so many great moments.
And yeah, Renner and Steinfeld are just so great, but it does really showcase like how little they gave Renner to do in these movies, and how good of an character actor he really is. And just kind of really showing you the effect this has had on Hawkeye, doing all these things. So all good, but let's talk about the thing we're really here to talk about, which is the ending. So there's a big 4-way rooftop fight between Kate Bishop, Clint Barton, Echo, and a spy that none of us could have guessed until the mask came off was Black Widow. So yes, as they say on Twitter, Yelena Belova has entered the chat, and we had Florence Pugh make her big debut on Hawkeye as Yelena Belova, connecting us back to the post-credit scene in Black Widow. What did you guys think of the fight sequence of Yelena's entrance, and what do you think about where we're going to go from here? What about that little moment, Matt, between Yelena and Kate? Will this MCU kind of reforge that Hawkeye Black Widow friendship in a different generation?
Could be. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be cool. Yeah,
I love that, man. Look, everyone knows when we talked about Black Widow, like Florence Pugh was one of my favorite parts of that movie. It's just like everything about what she brought to that character, because that character, to me anyway, has never really been that interesting in the comics. So like I really liked what she brought to it. So to get just a little piece of that and then see that bounce back, I hope they do that, because ultimately, look, I would love to see a West Coast Avengers group later on. If Renner doesn't want to kind of do that, and be that regular player, I would take Yelena kind of in that spot. You know what I mean? I could deal with that. So that would be fun. Plus, you'd have all the new heroes, obviously, it looks like America and everything like that. So I'm down for that.
Yeah, I think more and more, I think we're going to get this weird composite of like Champions, West Coast Avengers, and, Young Avengers. I don't know what they'll title it, but I feel like they're going to take all of that and kind of mix it together.
Young Champ Avengers.
Yeah, Young West Coast Champ Avengers. Yeah, because all of those have some really good runs in them that are kind of the iconic runs. And more, I just feel like they're just kind of plucking pieces of each, and they'll make it so that there's a young team, they're fresh, and they're in some nice sunny setting like the West Coast. I mean, it worked for Runaways on a smaller scale during that like little weird experimental phase with the Hulu stuff. So I could see it happening, and I could see, like Yelena and Kate being at the forefront of that, and the other heroes, as we've said.
And Runaways is still technically part of the MCU, right? It's all connected, right? Kinda, sorta, maybe.
So
I don't know.
Moving on. Yeah. Speaking of Hawkeye, we had some other fun stuff going on. I mean, there's not too much more to talk about Hawkeye. I mean, anything in this episode really stand out to you guys? Oh, let's talk Mockingbird. Do you guys think Hawkeye's wife is Mockingbird? That's a big theory.
That would just be so cool.
Linda Cardellini, like she has to suit up and save his butt in the end. I mean, I would die for that. I mean, I just love Linda Cardellini like that, but like,
right. I'm with you now. Yeah, I think I just want to see her get more time. Like every time she's on the screen, it's amazing.
Yeah. We didn't get to know her at all in the films. And so like every time she's shown on the TV show, I'm just like, oh my God, let's go. Like she's great. She's so cool. She slides into some German. She just seems very agenty. And I would love to see her. I know I haven't like talked a lot about this, but you guys have kind of like hit every nail on the head when it comes to the episode. And I just want to say, like, I'm with Matt, and I've changed my favorite order for Disney Plus shows. So it has obviously topped What If for me. Like, I'm silly that I outranked What If over Hawkeye, but I'm still WandaVision, Loki, then Hawkeye. But who knows? This could jump.
It's coming up the ranks.
It could.
All right. Look at this. Look at the holiday spirits flowing. We're making progress here. Look at that. I think the final thing from the chat, just to shout out everybody in the chat, is who do you guys think Eleanor, what is her shady connection? Her, Jack? Do you think Jack's really shady, or is he just shady for Eleanor? Like, is that a misdirect? What do you think is really going on here?
I mean, they both seem pretty shady to me. Like, I don't like either one of them. Like, I just want to know where the dad went. Like, I'm just confused. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah, is that a misdirect, or is that like confirmed? Did he just get wiped out in the Battle of New York? Is that just what we've been led to believe?
Oh, I thought he was blipped. That might just be me that I assumed that, but that's okay. So the fact that that's not clear, it is one thing that I'm like, I wish I knew what was going on here, but I don't like her mom at all.
No, Eleanor, I would like to see something cool like Eleanor, kind of Val and Sharon all being like the same weird network of like powerful underworld women. That'd be kind of cool.
In the comics, is Eleanor a bad guy? Like, what is Eleanor's role in the comics? She even have one?
Like it's not yeah, like it kind of goes back and forth. There's not really a big giant storyline, so I mean, they could kind of do whatever they want to in this case. I mean, I think they are leaning towards that Kofi seed plant though, because like you see that call she makes right after he leaves, and like that's all they leave it there. She's also like naive at the weirdest times. like it's kind of like she's very intelligent and she picks up on a lot of things, and then all of a sudden like she doesn't pick up certain social cues or whatever that Kate is. And so like I feel like that's purposeful. Like I don't feel like she's not picking up things. She just knows things that Kate doesn't. And so yeah, I think
she does a lot of avoiding, and Vera Farmiga's great at that kind of stuff. Like in those scenes, like she goes all mom and friendly whenever she's using it as an avoidance. It's like a tactic. If you rewatch some of their scenes, she always is just like, Kate will be like asking a pointed question. She'll be like, hey, but what about this party, dear? And like, it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing here. In the
comment section, we have a lot of people.
Yeah, I know the
her
vampire
comic
thing.
Story. Then they said vampire, and I really just thought that was a joke. And then no, that's actually real.
Yeah, you got. It's one of those things when we talk
don't
comics.
Reference the comics.
When we talk comics, sometimes there is the cable effect. Whereas, like, you kind of look at things in there and you go, that's never going to make it to screen. It's like certain things are like, I don't think.
Not, unless they want to bring Blade up in here.
Blade, you never know where Blade can be these days.
Blade could be everywhere.
Blade could just be talking off screen somewhere. You don't know.
Maybe
you do not know.
Maybe he is. I don't see that connection, but hey, maybe it happens. Who knows?
But no, some people have kind of pointed out it is a good thing to remember the first episode and kind of some of the references Eleanor said that, she didn't start out rich like the husband was. She was poor, and you don't know like where she came from, what she had to go through, and who she might have to be loyal to. So it could be Kingpin. I mean, this could just be another Kingpin thing, right? Like, and she's just been, kind of working up. So we're going to see. But one thing before you don't make me lose my train of thought, let me just get this out. People keep saying there's this big Jack is innocent movement. Look, man, all I know about Hollywood is people usually cast based on the last thing they saw. And if that kind of holds true, if you have not watched Better Call Saul and seen who the actor who plays Jack, Tony Dalton, played on that show, I do not believe for a second that Jack is innocent. He was one of the scariest freaking villains I have ever seen on TV in Better Call Saul. And like he plays the Salamanca brother you never heard of in Breaking Bad, who's the crazy one, like the crazy one. And that dude is so freaky in some of those scenes that I do not believe for a second that Jack doesn't have a dark side. So I cannot get on the Jack is innocent train. You've heard it here. I'm gonna plant my feet on that hill. But yeah. All right. Anything else from Hawkeye we need to kind of address?
No, there was a comment though that I think Eleanor called Val and activated Yelena, and that's honestly makes the most sense.
Oh, that would be a good connection to Black Widow, right? Like
that actually makes the most sense of like,
Yeah.
hey, I need you to call in a thing. So yeah, that would that's a good point. Way to go.
Right. Look, this is why we have fans and comments, because they will always be smarter than us. Oh, what if Val is running? Oh, Jim Viscardi has entered the chat. He is here.
Yeah.
Producer Jim Viscardi is in the chat. He's going full tinfoil hat. What if Val is running Hammer? I mean, if Val's running Hammer, that'd be kind of cool, which is a whole kind of other darker shaded agency type thing that happened in Marvel Comics. Yeah, there's a lot of that that's kind of feels like it's going on. But yeah, Hawkeye, good stuff. What do you think we're going to get in the next episode? I mean, obviously, Yelena and Clint have to have a chat, right? There's only 6 of these, right?
Oh, is there only 6?
There's only 6?
I don't know. I'm asking. Whoa,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Everybody relax.
No.
Yeah.
Is it almost over?
Yeah, 2 more left. So
okay.
next week's the penultimate episode. So
6,
Yelena and Clint are going to have a chat, obviously. And do we get Big Willie? Big Willie revealed?
Okay, I'm not ready to move on to Book of Boba yet. I'm very focused on this.
I feel like
Do you think Wilson Fisk? Do you think we're getting Kingpin next episode? Because that will be
They
Spider-Man
have
No
to.
Way Home's week, right? That'll be the release week of No Way Home. I'll
They
put my
have
chips
to.
on it. Yeah,
they
I'll put
have
my
to do
chips on it.
something. Only 2 more episodes. I don't know
Well,
how they're gonna like wrap
fine.
it
Now
up.
you better start floating some things to your boy to
Man,
come on.
he just is as pleasant as possible, but I hope you and yours are happy and healthy.
Yeah, I mean, with them teasing that 5 is going to blow everyone's mind and blow Twitter up, I would assume that would be the episode. I would assume,
Kingpin.
right?
All
I mean,
right.
that's what they've been teasing. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
So check back for that. Our sister podcast, Phase Zero, with Brandon Davis and them will be on right after Hawkeye drops. So the first Afterglow, you can come back to this Twitch channel on Wednesday at noon, and there will be probably a Kingpin celebration here. On Friday next week, we'll have seen Hawkeye, and a bunch of us will have seen Spider-Man No Way Home as well. So it's going to get real. Bring your tinfoil hats, get a cup of coffee or some eggnog, and get seated next week because, yeah, it's going to get super duper real. I think there's going to be a lot of comic book podcast content coming, dealing with No Way Home, Hawkeye, the connections. We'll be in Witcher Season 2. It's going to be... Things
Oh
are
my
coming back.
gosh.
It's
Yeah,
good
that drops
time.
on Friday too, by the way. Next Friday.
So we're going to be busy.
Oh Lord.
Busy.
Yeah, there's something else coming, I feel like, next week. I mean, it's going to be busy. So get your tinfoil hats out, polish them up, rewrap them with some new foil because it's about to go down. But first, we're going to pay some bills, take a break. And when we come back, we got so much still to do.
Yeah.
Matt has that early review from Witcher to talk about. We got to talk about a couple Spider-Man things. We have the whole Game Awards to break down. And we got to talk some big comics this week. So be sure you guys stick around. Hello. We are back.
What
to
a
Comic Book
dude.
Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and this is my SMR voice that the other podcasts all love to do when they're talking about whatever content they're talking about that puts you to sleep at night. But that's not what we do here. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation. Got to put a little oomph in our podcast. So,
Wow.
let's take this real quick. Matt, can you just take us through, because I think it'll be the most timely thing to begin with. The Witcher Season 2, you've gotten a look at this. Can you give us the early breakdown?
Yes, I can. The Witcher. We have to say it. It's like our tagline now. Yes.
The Witcher.
So, the Witcher. So got to see the first 6 of the 8 episodes season. So hopefully those last 2 episodes don't completely let me down. But going from the course of the first 6, one of the things you immediately leave with is that I know, talking about the first season, there were kind of 2 common complaints. One was the slow pace. A lot of people felt it got off to a slow start. And the other was the time jumps and the story jumps and kind of back and forth. We're in the present, we're not, we're over here, we're over here. So I understood why they made those decisions, but like that was an annoyance by a lot of people. This season doesn't do either of those. We have 2 back-to-back great episodes, and especially the first episode is where and this is kind of out there, so this is not spoilers, so I'm not going to get into spoilers until next week, so no worries, you're not really going to be spoiled here. What we have seen in the trailers though is Nevelyn, and that whole storyline is the first episode, and it is fantastic. it is so good. So yeah, and my camera decided to stop. So yeah, it is so good. Oh my god, with this, oh my god, my camera is annoying me today. So
People want Frozen Matt.
How to turn off the
Frozen Matt.
autofocus.
my goodness, maybe that's it.
Mhm.
But in this case, that first episode kicks off, and it is just incredible. You just get it sets the tone for the rest of the season. Characters that did not get a lot of shine last season, including Triss. Triss is a far increased plot line in here. She actually plays a big part in series development. Ciri goes from Princess of Sintra in the first season, and some people were like, she's helpless a lot and kind of didn't love that. And in this season, she's become one of my favorite characters in the show. This season, she is Queen Ciri.
Yes.
So
I'm excited.
Yeah. So it is. It's excellent as far as her kind of growth and evolution. When Cavill teased that he kind of pushed for more dialogue, he wasn't kidding. So yes, the grunts are still here. The kind of, he does that every so often, but really it's like night and day. He talks so much more in this, and he has so many they're heartfelt conversations. A lot of them are with Ciri, some are with Triss as well. So there's a lot more from him. Having Vesemir in the mix also brings that out of him, and having him at Kaer and having all these other Witchers, there is, oh my god, my camera is frustrating me today. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, look, I think the first season, I enjoyed the first season a lot, but this season just it doesn't even compare. I feel like they've improved on everything that we kind of knocked in that first round. It looks like they got an increased budget too, because some of the creatures that show up are better executed, especially in that first episode. So yeah, I just think across the board, it's so much better. So I left with nothing but, I had a few nitpicks. They're nitpicky, very nitpicky. I also will be interested to see how people who read the books react to some of the changes they make. Okay. There are a couple of,
I read that in your article, and it
kind
of it made me go, yeah.
There are a couple of bigger changes.
Here's the big question for just mainstream people: will this be easier to follow than the first season?
Yes, it's not even. Yeah. It's not a linear story, but it is walking you from point A to point B from different points of view. But you're on the same path, so you're not. The flashbacks, there are some, but they are clearly delivered as flashbacks. You're kind of going into the past. The same with dream sequences and things like that. You dip into other areas of time, but they're not like you're just supposed to catch up. Like it is telling a one long story from a bunch of different points of view, and it does a much better job of like, hey, you're here now. Hey, we're moving to this point, and you're following all the core characters. Also, it helps too that like the first season, because of what they had to do with Ciri and Geralt, you didn't get to see them together until literally the very like one episode kind of early on and then the very end. And in this season, they're together from the very beginning, and they're together throughout the whole season. Just about. So like you really get that dynamic and stuff that people love so much from the books and the games, and you get to see that flourish. So like it just benefits from being a season 2. It's kind of like we talk about with like MCU origin stories, right? That second movie typically has just a lot they have a lot more options, and they get off the ground a lot faster because they don't have to do all the setup. That is very much season 2 of The Witcher. So
all right, there you go. That's Matt's early non-spoiler review of The Witcher Season 2. You can read his full review on Comicbook.com Gaming.
That's right.
Yes, Comicbook.com Gaming.
It was said with a question mark. It was like,
yeah. Yeah, I just want to make sure I always throw it to the right place. We have so many channels. All right, so moving on from The Witcher. We can skip the Spider-Man stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have on the Spider-Man press tour. There's a lot of kind of headlines being made from what Tom Holland and the rest of the cast and the crew kind of are letting out, or Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal. You can also watch our videos. We have our own interviews. Brandon Davis sat down with the cast and crew of Spider-Man No Way Home. So you can see all of that over on Comicbook.com Marvel, but we won't get into in the weeds because it'll just eat up time. And we did enough with Hawkeye and stuff. One cool thing is we saw the opening clip from No Way Home, which you can now watch on Comicbook.com Marvel. And they continuity. They did Rogers the Musical pops up. Spidey and MJ swing by Rogers the Musical on their way to get out of Midtown. And as somebody who lived in Midtown for many years, Manhattan, it's funny. They get a lot of the geography really right. But they swing by the theater district and they pass Rogers the Musical from Hawkeye. So nice little piece of MCU continuity, and it suggests that Rogers the Musical has a good run. It's not a flash in the pan. It's on Broadway for a minute. So all the more reason we need that thing in real life, right? You don't have to Damon streams. You don't have to refuse to watch the clip. It's not a mystery. Spider-Man No Way Home picks up right from the end of Far From Home. So it's like literally the next minute from the ending of Far From Home. There's nothing to spoil for yourself. But everybody do as you will. It is just a week-long countdown. We'll all see it next week.
So tired of teases and trailers and even like interviews. Like, I'm just ready to watch this.
I'm so tired of all you people's freaking first world problems with movies. Like, come on, man. It's Christmas. Everybody chill out. You guys will see Spider-Man. Remember last year, guys, when we didn't have a scrape of content and we thought we might all die? Like,
we hung in there. We made it.
Yeah. Everybody chill out. All right. So moving right along before I go off the deep end, let's just throw back to Matt for safety. And Matt, let's get into these Game Awards, which is like the big thing we're here to talk about here. Take us through. The Game Awards happened last night. I fell asleep for that, but woke up for that weird Drake Kanye concert in the middle of the night randomly. Yeah. Yeah. This is the world we're living in, guys. But Matt, Game Awards, safety. Yeah. Take us through it.
All right. So I feel like we have to start off with the very anticipated Showtime Paramount Plus project Halo. We got that first teaser trailer. It is a teaser trailer.
Mountain of entertainment, baby.
It is a teaser trailer, obviously. So like, it just kind of goes through all the, you get the Halo feel. I know I actually had a little bit of a geek out moment with that music hit right at the end, as that little tag at the end. Like, oh, it feels good. It makes it look cool. It's just, a look at certain characters. You get a look at the armor. You get a look at the Spartan armor. Like, you get a look at the world, which actually looks really impressive.
Let's all be honest what this was. The makers of Halo sat down and watched that Mandalorian first teaser, and they were like, yeah, let's do something like that.
That didn't feel like at all for me. This felt very much like
I'm just messing.
I was going to say, this felt like very Halo.
But it was, I meant in the structure, it's like a bunch of people. You see other people kind of like looking at this mysterious kind of gunslinging character, and then they show you just like the helmet, the armor in that kind of like first tease, right? So
yeah,
it was similar.
It had for those who have been worried about this show, because I feel like a Halo project has been in development for movies and TV forever at this point. It's kind of like with the Gears of War.
Basically, since I've been doing this job, which is now like 13
right?
years, I remember reading about how how we almost got Peter Jackson letting Neil Blomkamp make a Halo movie until some brilliant studio executive was like, I don't know this kid, let's not do that. And it's just like, face palm.
So this looks promising. I'm hopeful for this. I want to obviously see a full trailer and things like that, but I'm hopeful. Let's move on to Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Got a trailer, and we got Knuckles.
I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to say about Halo. Pablo Schreiber, I'm the actor who's playing Master Chief, has been like the man since The Wire season 2. And if you know what I'm referencing, like when he first had his breakout role in the second season of The Wire, I'm really psyched to see this guy actually make, like Hawkeye, like make me care about the Master Chief, who to me is still like the most like just dispensable video game character we've ever created. But I would like to see this kind of.
Dang. Yeah, I feel like that's a fire take.
I've never cared about the Master Chief or his story. Like, he's just a hard dude who can punch through some shields and blow people away to me. Like, fun to play as him. Don't care about him as a character. Looking forward to changing that. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, interesting.
Also, I think this looked beautiful. There were certain shots that just like really took my breath away. So I cannot believe how I am moved by this, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Okay, so Greg brings up an interesting point. Now this was later in the rundown, but I feel like it's perfect segue. So he said gaming awards. Did anyone even watch that? Now here's the thing.
He's trolling. That's my friend.
But here's the thing though. That gets brought up though every time the gaming awards comes around. Like, it's kind of like the most public yet sort of hated event that gaming has. It's very odd because it's so high profile and it's such a big deal. But like, if you talk to a lot of people like who are actually like, I don't know if I want to watch that. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's a very love-hate relationship with this thing.
It's basically the new Comic-Con, which is like,
but like
before
Comic-Con
everybody
is race now.
But no, but like before in the 2010s, especially before, studios started pulling out content and making their own showcases, Comic-Con was that thing where like nobody who was in geek culture, like all they did was make fun of Comic-Con, and literally outside like the boundaries of Comic-Con in San Diego, downtown San Diego, or just people like there to just like mock Comic-Con. But they all like want to parse through and be like, wait, but about that big trailer, like what happened there? Right. And that's the thing they take away. And then the rest of the culture, they're just like, nah. And that's like what I feel the Game Awards now. Everybody's like, wait, but about them trailers though. And then the rest of the Game
trajectory,
Awards,
right? Because last time around was Elden Ring, and that was the biggest thing. And then Jeff Keighley was kind of like teasing, like, there's like 7 Elden Rings. So let's like, it's interesting. I don't know.
It makes me think of the Tony Awards. Like, it's just this kind of obscure thing that if you're part of the community, you're either totally into it or not. And if you like don't go to the theater, aka you don't play video games, you just don't care. And you try to care, but maybe you don't. And it's okay if you don't.
Well, let's get it positive. I care. Yeah, let's get it positive, guys. Let's talk about the things we all can care about that unites everyone.
That's good though.
Sonic.
So Sonic, Knuckles. We can all agree that Knuckles rules, right?
And Tails was adorable too.
Tails was
I liked Tails.
I liked the first one. I enjoy the first one. I got so much hate for that. I enjoy the first one. Me and Jim Viscardi are like Team Sonic. So like,
oh no, the first one I've seen it since.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm excited for the second one. It looks like more of that same thing, but I was always a Knuckles guy when like playing the original games. Yeah,
I was a Knuckles guy too.
I'm all about this, and I love Jim Carrey's Robotnik. I'm up for more of that.
Jim Carrey still got it, man. Even in just like that teaser for the Game Awards trailer release, like with just Carrey as Robotnik, like, man, Jim Carrey still got it.
He still got it, man. Okay, so we're going to talk about something I think, anyway, that Kofi's excited for. So Star Wars Eclipse got a big trailer.
Wow.
I know anytime High Republic comes into view, I know you're super high on that. Are you excited that, okay, what did you think of the kind of the look of it and everything? And also, what do you think of Quantic Dream being the one to do it? Because they kind of have they're not your typical studio.
No, I don't know the gaming politics about the studio. I saw the name and was like, I don't know you, bro. So I'm not like, I'm always kind of nervous about studios, but Who had it before this? EA Games did a lot
EA
of Star
still
Wars.
has the license, like, so they're still
Yeah.
making Star Wars
But
games.
I wasn't like, I bought Jedi Fallen Order, but I wasn't the biggest fan of that engine. Like, and so, I mean, I'm open to somebody coming in. That very first trailer was a good, bold statement because that was a great trailer. And to me, that was probably like, I think my favorite trailer out of last night.
Oh, wow.
Was that High Republic trailer because, I mean, just the way it was set up and sequenced and what it did was just so well done. I mean, like you could have told me that was like a new Star Wars movie and I'd have been like, oh, I'm in. Like, let's get some tickets. Yeah. And also just because, you know, we've been stumping here personally for the High Republic. Like we've been on this since they launched this new this era of Star Wars, which has been in just books and comics and the parts of Star Wars that people, you know, mainstream fans say they don't care about, quote unquote, you know. And so we've been just kind of following it and saying like, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. Like, and now I feel like it's cool that people are going to get to see this. I didn't expect it in a game form, especially from this studio, like you said, but I'm open to giving it a chance because at least that trailer was pretty exciting and made me more excited about the High Republic than I think I've been even so far. Plus, we got some Acolyte casting, so the High Republic's coming up, and we got some TV casting. And
it's a big. Janelle, you a big fan of like the Detroit?
Detroit is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, but the Star Wars is so over my head sometimes, and I don't know what's going on. But that looked stunning. Like it looked. Really I was like, I wish this was a TV show because I would watch this on Disney Plus.
I've been a little like I've been mixed. You know, like I liked Heavy Rain a lot when that came out. I missed Detroit. I played Beyond. Like so, I've been kind of back and forth. But what is interesting is they're actually, it seems anyway from other reports that they're leaning into making more of a like traditional game as opposed to kind of one of their style of games for this. So I am interested to see kind of how that turns out. I know we got to get a couple more, so let's get through these. Wonder Woman is getting a game, which I am very excited about because it's from the Shadow of Mordor, folks. And holy cow, I love that game.
What is that gameplay gonna be like? Do you know?
So I mean, it's if they're going based on those two games in that series, it is a third-person action adventure game. Like it's got a full storyline, and there was actually really heartfelt stuff in those stories and really interesting character dynamics. But like the biggest selling point of it was the Nemesis system, which is like essentially allowed you like all the baddies that you would fight. Like there were tier levels to like how that architecture worked. So like these people had names and personalities and they would kind of shift. So like if you took out their men, they would actually like try and be more tactical on like how they approached you. And they would also remember things that you'd like. There was a lot to that system.
That's cool.
And it was really cool. It made a straightforward action game into something really cool. So the fact that they're bringing that system, because the report is that is going to be included in this, to Wonder Woman, who has a sword and shield and lasso and everything. Oh my god, like that is exciting.
I'm expecting kind of like, and also the Arkham series style kind of combo systems for just kind of being able to like really take out big squads of people as Wonder Woman using all the kind of objects and weaponry that Matt just was talking about. But also good presentation, good start.
Yeah, all of these are very much 2023 and beyond.
Yeah,
I believe. But you know, it's good. Alan Wake 2 got announced. I know Jamie is somewhere celebrating. He's very happy about that. This is going to be straight up survival horror though, and not kind of the action hybrid that the first game and even kind of the spin-off was. So that's exciting just for Remedy fans. Also, Lord of the Rings Gollum got a cinematic trailer.
That was lame. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have zero interest. He looked so weird, like just cartoony, and I don't know what the point is and how the heck, what is this gameplay? Like, I'm not about that.
I love it.
I mean, it is weird. Jay's not wrong. It is weird.
Yeah, it's weird. So then we also got a look at actual gameplay of Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. I feel bad about being negative on this game all the time.
Dude, I thought it looked cool. No,
yeah,
okay.
No, that doesn't mean that you're wrong. That just means that I just can't. I don't know what it is. Something's not clicking for me, and so I just was not excited. But I'm glad that because I know we've all kind of been like, on the game. So I'm glad this actually jazzed you up a bit.
I mean, not excited, but like it's cool because I'm kind of coming in from this perspective of like Guardians is my first like superhero game that I've played, and that is the truth, and that's crazy because I've missed out on so many awesome opportunities. So for me, I'm just like, oh, cool, Harley and like King Shark, and this could be fun, and that's kind of the perspective I'm coming from.
I understand that. Kofi, are you still excited for this game now?
Well, I was just trying to look at it in our article, but we have a link to the wrong thing. Great. We have a link to Sonic.
Yeah, you have to YouTube it.
Yeah, so
yeah.
It hasn't, I'm gonna be honest, like it has not done a single thing to really capture me.
Yeah.
Like yet. And I think that's weird because it was like a year ago, if you had asked me, it'd be like my most highly anticipated. But I mean, I want to see like the Bat Family game more than I want to see this.
Gotham Knights.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. All right. So the biggest thing we should probably talk about next before we move on to comics is the Matrix Awakens, which is a gorgeous Unreal 5 engine demonstration that is kind of an interactive experience. Now you can actually go to YouTube and watch the full thing. So like you can watch all the gameplay that happens. You're essentially like, you can later on, like you can move about the world, but like early on, like you're in cars and you're shooting and it's this big chase sequence. Look, the graphics are stunning in places, and there's parts where like the actors, like there are parts where you're kind of like, oh, is that the real person or is that not? That's really impressive. So you can play it now, but you can also watch it. It looked impressive for what it was. Like if that was a full game, and like there was more to it than just like shooting out tires, which is like half of the video. Like I would be more excited for that, but like I still kind of want to try it out because, man, I love Enter the Matrix. I know it was.
Yeah, I was about to say this will never replace that.
Yeah. So, but like, man, would I love to see what they could do with that in this tech? Holy cow, that would be amazing. Like that would look awesome. So it does make me hopeful.
Hey, I need that remaster so we get like a fully great Enter the Matrix version.
Man,
because that was so good. My bullet time skills by the end of that, I could take a butterfly out.
Yeah, and then Expanse game is coming from Telltale, which is crazy because like 2 years ago they filed for bankruptcy, and so they're back. That's great. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is also getting a game. It's same kind of feel of the Friday the 13th game. Dead by Daylight, like that kind of thing. So that trailer also looked kind of interesting. So a lot of stuff to process there. We have it all up on the gaming vertical on Comicbook.com.
All right, Comicbook.com gaming, and you might think I'm going to start talking here, but I'm not, because Matt's going to take us right over to Comicbook.com comics.
That's agenda.
There it is. Yeah. So okay. So first, just want to take a second. Everyone saw the reports. Of what George Perez is going through and the diagnosis and everything. So we just want to send our thoughts out to him and family. And
legendary, iconic artist. George Perez influenced so many. I did the article just of the people in the comic industry, just kind of when he announced his diagnosis, of them reacting to him. And it's just amazing to see how many people we now value as a modern generation of comic creators. Everybody from like Avengers writer Jason Aaron to Hawkeye artist David Aja, and just like, people who are now influencing our comic culture in our live action superhero culture, and how many of them just got inspired by George Perez. It's astounding to see. And just, it takes it from, your personal experience reading this man's work and seeing his art. And I have a brother, like I said, I've said before, collected comics in the decades before me. So I got from the 70s on through the 80s, through the 90s, bunches of comics. And that man's artwork is just so synonymous with so much that I know, remember, and love. And this was that was a hard one this week.
Yeah, I can't think of Titans. I can't think of Wonder Woman. There's characters that I will always associate.
Somebody brought up the DC Marvel crossover, the Batman versus Captain America. See, just so many things this man's artwork has just captured that is burned in our brains. So shout out to George Perez and all our love and support to him, his family, his friends. George Perez, if you haven't heard, comic artist George Perez announced this week that he has stage 3 pancreatic cancer that is inoperable, and that he has searched his treatment options, but he has opted that he doesn't like the odds of going through the treatments, the surgeries, chemo, all of that. And he has 6 months to a year to live. And he's just going for the kind of the natural opt out of just enjoying his time with fans, friends, family as much as he can before kind of, accepting the inevitable. And that's his decision. And he put it out there. And he announced that he's going to try to do one more appearance with fans because he cares so deeply for all the people he influenced to kind of just go through the whole process, the crying, the smiles, the signings, the things. Yeah. So he's going to try to get that together. But so that's
it's one of those things, right? You don't want to bring things down, but also we talk about comics here, and you just can't not talk about someone as important and beloved in the comics community as him. So that is our our thoughts and everything.
Yeah, and as much as we want to be down, like this is a time, like this man has given so much to all of us in our imaginations. Like this is a time, I truly believe this time to take a little piece of yourself and pour some out. Yeah, that sounds like liquor. Jeez, just do an outpouring of like love and support and just good vibes for somebody who has helped you when you've needed to retreat maybe into worlds that he's helped create to kind of help his world be a little bit brighter this holiday season. So shout out to George Perez. On a lighter note, Matt, you also had a big victory in something that Marvel teased for us. And Janelle, this is a victory for you as the What If supporter on the show.
Yeah, Captain Carter series is being teased.
It's awesome.
And I can only imagine, it's just probably Marvel has stuff in the works all the time, right? Synergy and all that. But the What If being kind of a focal point, having Captain Carter be that, you knew they were going to capitalize, and she's become even more popular because of that series. So we're going to probably get a Captain Carter, I would say mini-series, most likely, limited thing. I don't care if it's 10 issues, if it's 30, I'm perfectly happy. I want Captain Carter in a comic, so I'm very happy about that. So let's move into the first book of this week, Devil's Reign. So this is the next big Marvel event. Things have been building up in the various books to this. This is fittingly a Kingpin-centric event. We've seen his machinations over the past 2 years. Whether it's you're reading the Daredevil book, whether you're reading Thunderbolt, so there's his kind of hands are everywhere, and even in Spider-Man. And so we're seeing that all kind of culminate here. This is I feel like we've been here a couple of times in the last 3 or 4 years where there's some law or some government thing that forces heroes to pick a side. And I know that's a common thing. Look, I loved Civil War. That's one of my favorite storylines ever, the original, not the movie, the comic series and everything, right? So I love that series, and I've loved some of the things they've done with those themes later. So I wasn't oh, okay, so we're getting another kind of variation on that. That said, I really enjoyed kind of the angle they're taking. It's not so much the law itself, because we've been there, done that, but it's the Fisk part. It's the Fisk kind of this being his, his wrath, so to speak. He's tired of this. And also you get a very interesting thing that's been a long playing thing in Daredevil, where Fisk figures out something's off, that he doesn't know the identity of Daredevil anymore. And he figures out why, he doesn't know why or how, but he's starting to put the pieces together. That whole part is really interesting as well. So Fisk kind of moving into power, and you're seeing the heroes kind of have to band together a bit. I love Moon Knight again, getting some screen time. Darkhawk got some screen time in here. Hey, this book is made for me. But I like the angle. So I wasn't over the moon with another kind of government versus superheroes thing.
I mean, let's just be honest. This is a potluck of a lot of different kinds.
It is, but I still liked it. I still came away really enjoying it.
I'm not criticizing it. It's good because it's driven by Fisk and you said, his character. But this is at once a supervillain trying to become president story. This is let's undo one of our crazy lost memory stories, because it was crazy when we had to retcon somebody's memory. It's one of those. It's Fisk going for this kind of personal vendetta against heroes, which we've seen. It's one of those laws against hero stories that we've seen. So this is a lot of like I said, a hodgepodge of a lot of things that we've seen before. But I didn't hate it because it makes sense, and it's an obvious social allegory to the last year or so, all of this stuff. And while there is a lot of it that's repeat, I think the character-driven part, like you said, is what the difference is. And Wilson Fisk's character has been kind of seeded through this Mayor Fisk role he's had in the last couple years to be very interesting and an antagonist. And his angle is different this time with his son, and that whole thing that's kind of building there is also very interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of comic bookiness to it, but it's also what we say we like look for in these kinds of storylines, which is there's a simple through line premise and room for a lot of kind of development. So it's not bad to me.
Janelle, what'd you think?
First comic book that I get to see Fisk and get to know. And so I had a blast like seeing this character on the pages and really like I was like moved. Like I hate him here. So I feel stronger about this version of him than, you know, the on-screen version of him. So this just built the hype for hopefully maybe seeing him in something else coming up. And yeah, it was just interesting. I read Civil War, but I haven't seen a lot of these like political, like governmental things. So for me, it was refreshing and kind of a cool perspective. And that I'm glad, because after you guys saying, oh, we've kind of seen this before, I'm kind of glad that I get to enjoy it from that perspective.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I was gonna say there's benefits to that, right? Like, like you're not, you know, inundated.
I'm like, whoa, oh man, like I can't believe that.
This also goes especially if you're an X-Men fan. Okay, if you're an X-Men fan too, you've seen like I don't know how like since the 90s, you've seen the government and like mutants clash and everything. So it's very much a prevalent theme. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it for those. Moving on to Batman 118. This is the start of the next run. Joshua Williamson taking over. And this is a kind of there is some kind of epilogue-ish cleanup a little bit to this kind of from that last run, right? Because like it's kind of setting all the things in motion, right? Like it kind of like it's explaining where people are that were kind of important to the last run. So like, oh, here's where Clown Hunter is on the board. Here's where Ghostmaker is on the board. Here's where this person, like, so it kind of does some of that. It does it in a pretty, I think, streamlined way. Like it seeds it here and there. And so it's kind of setting you up by the end of the issue as, okay, here's your new status quo. Here's what this book is kind of focused on. Throws you a little bit of a curveball at the end. When we were talking to Williamson recently, you know, it was kind of like, this Batman is a little more, I used the term jovial. And I was like, you know, trying to find a word that kind of describes him. And he was like, it's not jovial necessarily, but there is kind of there's just a little like lighthearted smirk to things he says, as opposed to the kind of dire, serious Batman we've gotten over the last bit. So I did actually appreciate that. I actually did appreciate that this Batman is okay to smile a little bit or have just a little bit of fun, like over the line with Oracle. So I like that artwork. I thought was gorgeous, and I like the thing at the end, which brings in a, you know, Lex Luthor style villain.
What?
It's like it's a nice shock. It's also a nice shock too because of where Bruce Wayne is,
and he looked hot. I was like, wait, what? Why did
he look like Kingpin? Everybody in white suits this week, man.
Oh, yeah,
everybody was like bald guys in white suits is like a thing.
Nah, he was cut. He is looking
Kingpin and the Devil's Reign has slimmed down, bro. Like
he has slimmed down.
He's looking good, man.
But Lex, I love the idea of Lex versus Wayne when Wayne isn't automatically assumed to have the upper hand because he's got as much money, he's got as much tech. That's an interesting back and forth because they're in very different places. You know, so that's interesting, man.
The artwork in this was gorgeous, but again, I think going back to what I just said a minute ago, I don't think this achieves the safety net of giving us still yet a straightforward premise. Who this new assailant is and like what's going on there gets really murky in the issue to the point where I had to go back and like reread it again and just be like, wait, what did happen in this issue? Because there was a lot of just kind of like setup and establishing new writer creative team tone with the alleyway scene. And I like to scare people and the jokes and stuff saying, hey, we're doing this different Batman before we actually got into like a plot, which was, again, very murky and didn't really sell us on like the villain and like what is going on here. Yeah. So, and the case itself. So Good stylistic achievement. I think narratively establishing like what is interesting about this next Batman storyline is going to be kind of crucial in the next issue for me.
Yeah, Janelle, what you think?
It was just cool. Like I liked the party situation. I just
That
thought
was
it was
great.
really funny.
That was
I was kind of falling asleep when I read it the first time. So I was kind of not like understanding. I was like, oh, Harley's there. Oh, wait, no, that's not Harley. Like, wait, what's going on? So I actually had to come back with my cup of coffee the next day and read it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it the second time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I had a great time with it. I've really come to love like any of the Batman stories now that I'm understanding like Titans. I watched the show and like I know Red Hood and all that. Like, if you go in, you don't know who these people were or are or how they came to be. It's a learning curve. You have a lot to take in, and now that I'm understanding kind of everybody's role, when I get introduced to, this other Batman team, I'm just kind of like engaged. I'm like, oh, wait, who is this? Like, I want to know more about these guys that he's trying to like figure out why they murdered, these different versions of the what do they call the Batman team? What did they call it?
Batman Inc. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Batman Inc. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that was just really interesting for me. Like, it was cool. It's just really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually interested because like, I agree with Kofi to a point of the narrative of like where we're going doesn't really start to come into play at all until like the last 4 pages.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I do agree. There's a lot of cleanup, and then it's kind of okay, here's where we're going. That initial part until Luther gets into it wasn't necessarily hooking me.
Oh, I liked the party. I liked it.
Yeah,
but
I loved all that stuff.
Yeah,
kind of in the beginning. But
okay.
yeah, that next.
Yeah, like I said, it was good stylistic establishment.
Yeah.
It's to say, hey, we're a new team, and this is us, and we're gonna be different, and here's how we're different. Like so.
Yeah. So moving on to Captain America: Iron Man, #1, the poll winner. So this book is kind of compared to the last two that we've talked about, which kind of run into like a lot of continuity, and there's a lot of things that have been kind of coming into play for a long time. This book kind of feels like a little bit of a throwback in the sense that I don't like, there are characters in here like Veronica Eden where like if you know who they are,
nope,
but like you've read some certain things or whatever, you might have a little bit of an idea, right?
Nope.
Which is really the Cap and Falcon series that came, right? So if you don't, I thought they go into a lot of detail about who this person is, her history with both people. And so this is really just like them chasing her. And there's a lot of backstory with her and each of them. And they both come at it from very different angles. And there's just some of that kind of, this is a very like classic Cap and very classic, I will say, Steve and Tony adventure.
Cap and Iron Man, the dead Avengers. No,
wow.
Yeah. this just feels like, it was beautifully done. And they explain who this Eden person is and her whole character. And she's kind of like a Harley Quinn type character in her kind of way she talks and attitude and handles things. But this just feels like it's a series for people who are missing Cap and Steve in the MCU and just like, I want to see them together again. Like, I don't know who the service is beyond that, but it was a nice, like you said, it's a very throwback, very classic, just Marvel comic-y adventure, right?
Yeah, it's very classic, and that's not in a negative way. It just feels kind of that way compared to like the other two that we're reading. Janelle, what do you think?
Yeah, same. Like this one didn't really super stand out to me, but I like it. I had a great time reading all the comics. Lately, I feel like I don't know if it's because I'm understanding these characters more and I've gotten my own kind of spot to read these books and where to enjoy it and just like consuming the content in a solid way. But I've just been enjoying like the last month of comics. Like
it's really good. There's been
just having a good time. Nothing. Again, I don't know who she is, but in this book, but it didn't bother me. Like I want to know who she is. I want to know what her background is, and I love the opening. Was just my favorite part.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. That was hilarious. That whole part. All right. So before we go, I want to let Kofi go off.
Kofi, go
Crimson
off.
Reign, because he's been waiting for that. You're muted, buddy.
I'm yelling into a muted mic. Nice. Yeah, we got to get out of here, but I just want to say real quick, check out the next Star Wars event. We did a whole big thing about War of the Bounty Hunters. This week started Crimson Reign, which is the comic book story, which shows the next stage of how the Crimson Dawn, that criminal syndicate from Solo, a Star Wars story, which is now led by Lady Kira, Emilia Clarke's character from that film, is weaving its way through the galaxy with one stated goal, which is to free the galaxy from the grip of one person, which is, of course, a Sith Lord. And so this is kind of a retcon Star Wars is doing to show that Crimson Dawn has been this clandestine criminal organization that has just basically a network of spies and assassins just embedded everywhere. And this kind of lays out what the next phase of Kira's plan is and how far across the galaxy it spreads. And it kind of shows you the clever way they're retconning things to show how this one character, this mastermind kind of plotter, and there's suggested there's even somebody above her, influenced a lot of the events that you saw in this kind of the OT, the last part of the Star Wars original trilogy, Return of the Jedi, from, and after Empire Strikes Back, from Luke and, all of that to in the Rebellion to in Jabba to all this stuff that happened with the, Palpatine and all this other stuff. So it also does this big move of positioning the Knights of Ren in an OT story to possibly have this clash with Vader, which could be kind of a very exciting thing. So I'm saying all this to say that, once again, like Star Wars, before we get to the Book of Boba Fett, because some of this stuff might be relevant to the Book of Boba Fett, Crimson Dawn, Kira, and other stuff that's been happening this past year in Star Wars comics, books, and animated series could be big things we see in the Book of Boba Fett. So if you're looking, and Star Wars comics are really doing it right now. So if you want to get something comic booky and something Star Warsy, check out Crimson Reign. And if you haven't, War of the Bounty Hunters is now released in a collected edition. So check that out too. So go back and check all of that out because it is cool. But that does it. We got to get out of here. All right. Matt, you good?
Good. That's comics.
All right. That is comics this week. This is Comic Book Nation. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we put up new episodes every Friday at noon. We first do a live show, which streams on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. You can check us out on any of those platforms. If you miss it, no worries. As soon as the stream is done, the recorded version of the show will be on those same platforms. If you want our audio, please go subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We are also available on iHeartRadio, and you can tell any smart home device to play Comic Book Nation podcast, and it'll fire up our latest episode for you. If you like the show, you can follow us at the @Comic Book Nation Twitter account, where you can get the latest about our shows, any updates, and all the other funny things that happen when big news breaks and all that stuff, or just Matt's opinions and polls and whatnot.
Agenda.
You can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
And you can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
And yes, next week, like I said, we got a big content week next week. So subscribe now because we're going to be getting into Spider-Man, The Witcher Season 2, Hawkeye's big mind-blowing episode, and a whole lot more. So be here definitely next Friday for the next episode of Comic Book Nation. We'll see you then. Peace.
Bye, guys.